The old tub sure coming along, ain't no doubt about it. Body work. Some of us love it, some of us hate it. Anyway, it has to be done. So I was debating. What could I do video-wise while this tub process is happening? Debate. I think I've got it. Scott Schiller for Ron Fitzpatrick Jeep Parts and Team G503 out of Charleston, South Carolina. Got a very special series of videos here I'm going to do within the Team G503 Video Series. Ron and I were fortunate enough this past year to go out and visit Jimmy Strauss at Jimmy Strauss Jeeps in Diamond Springs, California. Jimmy has quite the team out there, including a gentleman named Scott Tanis and a 92-year-old engine rebuilder named Norm Sappenfield, who has a career of building engines that you wouldn't believe. He's just absolutely fantastic. So what I'm going to do here, we had a Willys MB engine and we had a Ford GPW engine, and Norm walked me through the process and we videotaped it of how these engines are rebuilt back to basically factory standards. So without further ado on that, I'll get you into this first video. I think you're going to like this new set. It's going to be awesome. Usually, when an engine first comes into the shop, it looks like this, full of rust and with many broken off and inoperable parts. First, the engine will be completely disassembled. There is a Team G503 video specifically describing the disassembly of an L134 engine. After the engine is disassembled, it is hot tanked and thoroughly cleaned. After the engine is thoroughly cleaned, it will then be sent to be tested by Magnaflux to check for any cracks that may be present in the block. This is a most important procedure, as a lot of times the cracks are not visible to the human eye. Once the engine block checks out or is repaired, it can then be machined to become rebuilt. When we arrived at Jimmy Strauss Jeeps, Norm had already had the two blocks set up and ready to go and had already done the initial boring on the blocks, as both of them were going to be re-sleeved back to standard. The cameras came out and started rolling, and here's what happened.
And he did the other three already, and so what he did is you cut this in multiple passes in order to take enough metal out without taking too much out to compromise the block, and then you get a fit gap to where the sleeve will fit in. What is it, 2000s?
1.5 to 2.
Fit gap to where that sleeve will fit in there tight. And he cuts it with a shelf down inside here, which will look when he takes it out, to where the sleeve will rest on a shelf so it will not move once it's encased inside this block. This is called a boring bar, and basically it's a cutter that cuts the actual cylinder sleeve, to fit the sleeve in. Or you can just bore to a larger size if you were going to go to a larger piston. But we're boring this back to a standard bore. The Norm is going to deck this afterwards, but you can see
there's 3 sleeves in it now.
You can see the shape of them right there. And you see these are repairs that Norm did. These are pinning where the engine had cracks. And then it went into the valve itself. So he put hardened seats in this so that this will have a really hard surface for the valve to seat on afterwards. And this crack actually went down into the cylinder, so that's why he had to sleeve it again to seal that off so that the crack is now not compromising. It's repaired with these pins. These pins actually swedge the crack. You remove the crack by swedging it with a larger piece of metal, and each pin overlaps so that it creates a metal seal. He's putting paint in there right now as a lubricant.
Helps to dry the sleeve.
We better get the bench.
Yes.
It's a two-man operation. Norm does it by himself sometimes, but I try to relieve him from this. Need a rag?
Yeah, right. Where's the hammer? Brought it out. What did I do with it?
That's not it right there on the table, is it? His grandson was here earlier and he cleans up for him.
Yeah, he put it away.
This is an aluminum plate that absorbs the energy. Norm's lining up the sleeve now to make sure that it's square as it goes down. And that fit gap is 1,000 to 1.5 thousandths?
1.5 to 2.
So that if it's too tight, you'll get stuck without putting that sleeve in. Or if it's too loose, the sleeve can move. So it has to be exactly precision for it to actually fit right. So now Norm is holding this, and I'm going to put it. You ready?
Yeah.
The energy is forcing the sleeve down in. Rest it? Is it okay? Sometimes the energy gets so warm we have to let the cylinder relax a little bit.
You're not hitting it flat.
Right here or here?
No, you're coming in an angle with the head of it hits like this and it pushes it.
Okay, so
try
you
to hit
like
it
this.
flat. There you go.
See how it bounces? That bottoms out. One more. See, he knows that it's on the shelf of the block where he's cut that ridge for that sleeve to rest in. Now, as you can see, the sleeve itself is above the top of the surface of the block. He now installs the boring bar again and cuts the ridge off of this down flush like this before he decks it. The paint works as a lubricant and somewhat of a seal around in there that takes up that 1.5 thousandths tolerance. This anchors into one of the existing head bolt studs and allows the boring bar to anchor flush on this deck. He'll show you the tool as he inserts it. The tool that would actually cut the bore also will cut that extra ridge off.
That centers a machine on the board.
What it is there's this piece goes down and it has little ears that come out.
Cat's paws.
They're called cat's paws, and it centers inside that bore, so now the machine will be, the center of this line will be centered in that cylinder. So that he knows he's going to make a true cut straight down through the center point of that cylinder. Right now he's locking it down to the block. And this is how you would make the passes through each cylinder to cut it before you would put the sleeve in, so that you can bore it larger to take the new size of sleeve that Ron sells. Okay, I see you use it for that as well.
Norm, how old is that machine?
I bought it in 1953. There's another one right there.
That's a backup one, so in case it fails, he can always just keep moving.
Okay.
What's it called, a Van Norm?
Van Norman.
Van Norman.
777S.
Yeah. He couldn't tell you how many cylinders he's cut with this machine.
No. Okay, it's cutout tool there.
See that tool there? That's what you would set up to cut the actual dimension you needed, but he's just shaving the top down to make it flush so he can deck this entire block. You can notice he doesn't need glasses either to do it. So one thing about this particular shop is the type of engines that they work on here. The tooling is also from the same vintage.
Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the rest of them. I'm going to break this engine rebuild process up into every individual part so you can go back and see exactly how it's done. Kind of machine shop work is awesome, incredible. Very talented people do this. And as you see, and like I said, Jimmy Strauss has got quite the team out there. And Norm, he is just, it's incredible to watch him work. A gentleman of his age gets around like nobody's business, and like I say, he's doing 2 of those engines at one time. He completed these in 2 days, so we filmed for 2 days. All right, hope you liked it. If you'd like to follow along what we're doing with the Team G503 videos, you can do so by subscribing to us. At the bottom channel, just click the subscribe page, and you can also click that little bell to get the notifications for when we post the next videos. Till next time, my friends, keep it safe and happy Jeeping.